Alright, welcome back. We're going to go over platoon defensive operations concerning some of the techniques and ways to prepare a defensive operation. So this is lesson 25, and in lesson 25, your learning objective is to be able to describe basic techniques and preparation considerations for a defensive operation. We're going to start off with the concept for defending an area. I'm going to go over about 5 different types of defensive operations. So let me just start off by describing the picture in this slide. So what we have here is a platoon in defense, and you can see the platoon boundary at the top and the bottom. Now this is assuming that possibly the enemies could be approaching from the east to the west. Alright, so you have a squad here, and a squad here. This squad, which looks like some type of infantry anti-armor squad, is going to bound back and move to this secondary position. If they maybe can't defend against the enemy continues to keep moving west, they're going to bound back, or just as a coordination measure, the enemy reaches a certain TRP here or here, and they want to call for fire on these TRPs, then they're going to move back to this position. What else you see on here are different obstacles. So this looks like multiple strands of concertina wire, or just different obstacles. They've set up an engagement area for the squad fires or different indirect fires. And a friendly OP to possibly call for fire. You might have a forward observer in here, and obviously different targets and reference points denoted by the terminology of TRP and a target number, or a target number like Alpha Bravo 0004. This is also a linear target. So this target, you would call for fire, and then you would be able to put a artillery strike in a linear fashion, as denoted by this line. So why would you use this? Well, maybe the area or a commander would say, hey, we need to defend this area, but not necessarily a specific part of this terrain. So let's just set up so that way all my units are set up, so that way all your units are set up so that way they're linked in somehow, or they're visually, or just via communication, or by virtue of their range fans or engagement areas, they're able to be tied in. So another reason why you would use this is because of the extended frontages, different terrain features that might separate these different units, and then possibly different avenues of approaches. The next one is defend from a battle position. So as you can see here on the left, a battle position is used as follows: many different ways. All right. A way of looking at it is that if you're in your platoon and the company commander says, hey, set up a battle position, well, you're going to set up a battle position and defend it. You're not going to let any of the enemy go past you. You're going to block them with your fires. You're going to place fires on the enemy, and then you have a specific lane that you're supposed to defend. So let's look at this picture. All right, so this looks like a division boundary up here. You have different what looks like brigade boundaries, and these are battalion battle positions. So they put the icon in the back, so it's actually they are facing toward the west. Let's see the icons here; they're facing toward the west, and it looks like they're setting up a battle position because they want to prevent the enemy moving from west to east. Because here you have a reserve battalion, a field artillery battalion. It looks like they have a brigade command post here, and then a battle brigade or battalion support area. It looks like a brigade support area over here. So they have all these support units, and they don't want them getting interference or obviously attacked by the enemy. So they've set up different battle positions. The next one is defend a strong point. So what is this? So what we have here is, once again, a different brigade boundary at the top, a battalion boundary, and then a different brigade boundary here. And on the east, you have a battalion boundary. It looks like they're in some type of what looks like a valley. You have a hilltop and a slope in the north, and then a ridge with two hilltops and sloping terrain in the south. You have a battalion battle position here and another battle position here. Looks like they've taken the high ground since they're drawn over these hilltops, and then two engagement areas. Engagement area red for this battalion up here, and an engagement area blue for this battalion south of this boundary. And in the center, you have this battalion that's created a strong point. Now, the key thing for this to know is that when you get the order to do this, you're building up. You're getting a lot of resources, resources to build up some type of defense. All right, so this is going to require a lot of resources. It's going to require a lot of manpower. You're going to need the time to build up a defense, and you're going to defend it. And the return on investment is that the enemy's not going to get past you. There's no way that they can get past here. So the terrain has caused a funnel. The higher commander said, hey, set up a strong point, and this battalion has built up in the middle of these two hills, and they're basically saying, you shall not pass. Alright? They are not going to let anything good pass them here. So it looks like the enemy's going to approach from the west to the east. If these two battalions can take them out in their engagement areas, well, they're not going to get past this guy here in the middle. Alright, so the next one we're going to go over is perimeter defense. Perimeter defense, as you can see from this picture, it's pretty much what it means. Alright, it's kind of like your platoon patrol base, as you're essentially out there in enemy territory, and you're surrounded. So you're going to have to set up a circle, like circling the wagons, or just set up your patrol base. Every side has to be defended. Alright, and in this case, they've set up somewhat of a circle. So how do we even get in this position? Well, maybe you've been isolated. Maybe the enemy's gone past you, but there could be another wave of the enemy, or they might be coming back to you. Alright, so you have to just, when you set up something like this, you have to be able to set up so that way, so if you're an armored unit, different support elements can reach you within this perimeter defense. And then you want to be able to take advantage of some key terrain. So it looks like we have a brigade perimeter defense. You have the X here that represents a brigade, and you have different battalions within these different battalion areas. And then in the center, you have a brigade command post. So the commander has left up these battalions to operate within their area. They've picked different hilltops or higher ground to defend against the enemy, and they're all facing out, alright, toward the perimeter. Alright, the last one we're going to go over is the reverse slope defense. Alright, this is going to be a little funky, but let's give it a try. So what we got here, so let's look at this bottom picture. You have the enemy approaching from the west to the east. You have the outline of, looks like a couple of hilltops. Alright, so let's just go from west to east. Alright, so this part of the mountain is a forward slope. And then they're calling this a forward military crest. So it's probably just a good area in that mountain slope where maybe you can set up something usable by your military unit, your unit. Alright, and then here you have the topographical crest, the reverse military crest. Once again, a good area on that hilltop that you can use on the reverse side, meaning the opposite side where the enemy is approaching from. Then you have the reverse slope and then the counter slope. If there's another hill, then this is called the counter slope on the other side. Now let's go up here. So this is the same picture. Now what they've done, moving from west to east, right? They maybe have set up different security elements, so different OPs, LPOPs on this forward slope or this forward military crest. They've set up maybe different obstacles. It could be landmines, it could be concertina wire, it could be sandbags, it just could be maybe boulders, FPS for different final protective fires. So this is assuming here in this OP that these different security elements are able to reach out all the way down the slope. So if an enemy is going to start climbing up the slope, moving either dismounted or in some type of vehicle that maybe can get up different paths, or that they're able to reach as far as possible to their obstacles that they've set up. Now they have some observation posts at the top. Maybe you have some forward observers that are forward observing for a mortar team here in the back, or a reserve unit, maybe just a platoon in rest or something like that. So here they've established a forward company on the reverse slope. So the reason why you would do this maybe is just the best way to put them. Just think about this. Why would you put them on this side where they don't really have good fields of fire? Maybe they're pointing down the whole time, because imagine trying to point your rifle in the prone, going downhill. It's probably not going to happen. All right, same thing for any type of weapons. It's going to be very difficult to defend if the enemy is pursuing you from this direction up here. So they've set up, or maybe there's a company over here, or a forward company, or any kind of units. So when a enemy unit does get to this point, they're able to shoot up and try to destroy this enemy. Now, they could possibly use indirect fire to put more fires on the enemy, and maybe they have a plan where they can bypass these mines and use anti-armor weapons to slow and stop the movement of this enemy force. On this side, they also have some tow missiles or wire-guided missiles, where if a company had a break contact, or this unit had a break contact down the reverse slope, that you have missile gunners that can take out any kind of enemy pursuing force. All right. So in this final diagram, as you can see, they're maybe in a area where there's 3 hilltops. You have an engagement area here. The enemy is pursuing from the top to the bottom of this diagram, and then you have different battalions set up on these reverse slopes. So they're hidden from the enemy or protected by the enemy because they're behind the mountain. As the enemy moves into this engagement area, they're able to direct their fires or concentrate their fires on the enemy. And then you have this counter slope here where this battalion can easily engage the enemy, assuming that they're far enough, the engagement area is far enough where an enemy's movement into this engagement area doesn't necessarily make them an effective target for the enemy. Alright, so this was just a summary of the different types of defensive operations that you could possibly plan. Just think about how maybe you can apply them at lab, if any of this is possible at lab, or maybe in the future if you're when you become a future officer and you have to plan a defensive mission, or you get forward deployed in an area and the area you're in all around you, you could be surrounded possibly by enemy forces.